I want to ask you what you said about the Filipino migrant women. Does that also apply to the men? And in other words, is it also it's kind of a common migrant experience compared to a gender experience?
Yes, my migration book
Mm.
wasn't just about women
Mm.
because I wanted to do a gender one, so it's all male and female. But I did have a chapter on how migration changes gender construction, gender ideal, masculine and feminine. But yes, the men, especially
Mm.
the Philippine Americans who have had a longer history, more than 100 years history of
Mm.
migration, they're the ones who publish their stories. And it's the same because the first wave migration to the US was all male at that time. There was a few women, but very rare. The agricultural workers in 1906 who went to Hawaii and then to California. So that first generation is male. This is another story. My Filipino migration book actually went from 1906 to 2018, but the referee told me to cut 50 years, so I had to rewrite it. But I had a
Ah.
whole section about Filipino American, and that was men and women.
Ah.
So the original manuscript was had a lot more on Filipino Americans in the 20s, 30s that I had to remove to satisfy the referees.
Mina, you haven't had the best publishers or referees, isn't it?
I think it's luck. They published it, so I can't. They didn't say reject. I've had rejections. The migration book was
Yes.
rejected by the first press I sent it to, like
Yeah.
reject.
For what reason?
I just It was just a very short reason.
They were not interested. Yeah.
No, it wasn't the press. It was a reader. They had it for
Ah.
9 months.
Ah.
And so I think referees are a question of luck. Also, I mean, it couldn't be so bad if Cornell published it and it won a prize and has very good reviews. But obviously, the referee who didn't like it thought it wasn't good enough to be published and rejected the first. So I think that advice to all scholars: we all, we all think that somebody's successful or they got published. The story that's what I like about your scholarly chronicles. What
Yeah.
people actually don't know is that we got rejected
Yeah.
several times, and we had to read. And the published book that you see is not the original one. So the original one had more about men and women in the early period, but I had to rewrite the whole thing to remove the 50 years and make it from the 1970s on instead of from 1906.
Yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely. I mean, that's why we want to bring these stories out. And thank you
yeah.
for talking about your rejections and revisions.
Is there anyone I wonder who hasn't had them? I mean, the
Of
people
course.
I know, yes, we all have to. So I want to know the secret. How do you not get upset when you
Yeah.
get a rejection or a major revision? Because it's normal to be upset, but the secret is to not let it stop you and just completely revision your book or article or chapter in order to because then you're not writing for yourself anymore, you're writing to
Yeah.
include the viewer's perspective, so you actually have to revision your whole project in order to at least the women's movement, I just had to find 3 people who are willing to talk and have them on the record, but sometimes you actually have to revision your whole project, and rejections are, I think, the metal of us, the test for us scholars really is how do we cope with requests
Yeah.
for major changes
Yeah.
and rejections and not just quit.
Yeah, I mean that's a question of power also, isn't it? Especially when you're a younger scholar, it's very difficult to kind of respond and say I stand by what I say, because you then a lot of the top publishers and journals, they have a lot of options, right? They don't have to wait for us. They don't have to compromise for us. And maybe I want to talk about the experience, right, of rejection and all that, because we don't usually talk about that at all, except among our friends.
Yes,
You
or
know,
because you don't want
yeah.
to tell the whole world I was rejected by, because then oh, she must be so bad. But then on reflection, you think, wait a minute, it wasn't that bad, but you still had to revise the whole thing. you're right, but we should talk about it because it's
Mm.
kind of normal. Yeah.
How do you deal with rejection? What is the first feeling you have, and how do you do you wait, for the next day to maybe compose yourself or recover from
I
it?
I think you should. Yeah, you have to wait a few. I forgot to bring my wand. I brought it here to show you. This question came up, and it did. I bought a Harry Potter wand for a Christmas gift for myself because if I get a rejection, you can just say "expecto patronum," and that should help with the mental. I always think that that the university should our job should come with a little allowance for therapy for when we rejected. I think that you have to look at it and then think about what is actually constructive about it and what isn't. And I do think it helps to have a supportive network. That's very hard to find. I
Mm.
think, like you say, you don't want to tell your colleagues that you're rejected because they might think, oh, her work is no good. Because let's face it, you're never in a department where everyone's in the same field as you, so they really have no idea what your
Mm.
field. So it helps to have a supportive person. I
Yeah.
think if you're a junior scholar, if you can find a mentor who is
Mm.
very who looks I've done this because I edit a book series and I published dissertations, and so I get a kick out of when an early career gets their first book out and they get a job out of it. Yay, I love it, that feeling. So if they can find someone that they feel safe with, that they can talk about
Mm.
the comments, and
Mm.
then you have to think about which comments can I not concede because it's gonna be totally against the principle of my argument. But you always have to concede something. It's a negotiation and you have to
Mm.
find, and then you have to actually re-envision your whole project. Like I told you, I had to cut 50 years off, so then I had to rewrite the whole book and revision it in a way that would satisfy the report. So I think that's the other that's the other challenge, to not let the report stop you from revisioning it,
Mm.
which is the process you have to do next. It's never it's always going to be stressful, I think.
Yeah. No, I agree absolutely with both those things. The how to rebuild the project in your mind, and also the support network, right? Like from my conversations with friends and academic friends, even though we are supposedly so well educated, so well informed, we read so much, think so much, write so much, but a lot of the things that drive us fundamentally are very personal things, right? And therefore some academics are not well equipped to deal with rejection or criticism, because maybe they have a certain idea of what their project is, or they haven't had the experience of being rejected before and they don't know how to deal with it. So it's gotten worse because of this new culture of publishing, right? That you have to publish in good journals, good publishers, and the pressure is much more. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, a lot of academics take it personally when they get rejected. Don't
You-
you think?
but it is personal. I
It
feel
is
it's
personal, yes.
personal. So I feel, and the rejection for my migration book,
Mm.
the first press, uh, which was Stanford. Uh, um, it came on my birthday after 9 months of sitting there. I mean, I was, of course you have to take it first. Just a few hundred words. I
Mm.
and so it's shorter than an abstract for a conference, but you have
Yeah.
to. Then
Mm.
afterwards, I thought, but it's been rejected, so I didn't have to revision it. I knew that they were not going to take it, so I would have to find another publisher. So then you look at the comment and you see, is the comment important enough? And I discussed it with my partner. I'm lucky. My partner is also. Is the comment valid enough for me to have to change my whole book, or should I just go to another publisher with the same thing? And then you make that decision, and then again you get more. I get referee report that also asked me to make. That's it. The change was the 50 years, and I just did it. So that one I decided I'll do. But the other one didn't give me a choice. It was a rejection. It's a so so if it's a flat rejection, you have no choice. You just have to kind of pick yourself up. When I was younger, I used to go retail therapy. I remember, we have to apply for these grants and you never get up. And I had colleagues who were in tears. And I remember the ADR came to my office at the time and I'm so sorry you didn't get the grant. Are you okay? I said, that's all right. I went to the mall and bought me a pair of shoes and I'm okay now. So it used to be that, but now that doesn't work. It's it's always I admire people who can pick up themselves faster. I allow myself a day to feel sorry for myself, and then I think about it, and then decide you gotta do something. Inaction is not an option. So what am I gonna do next?
Right, absolutely. Yeah, just to share a story I have, right? There was one article I sent, and the usual, it become a very common kind of response, right? Which is revise and then resubmit, right? So I did that. Not too difficult. Some work involved, and then it was published. And afterwards, when the proofs were given to the reviewer, the reviewer said, "I didn't think you could do it." He was surprised. Yeah.
But that means so they actually deliberately didn't want you to. That's not very supportive. So, but good that you did it.
Yeah.